Hey guys, John here. I have this center display for my 2019 Model 3. I'm going to open it up and test it out and see how it performs.
This is the Tlyard T3 Pro display. I am in an Intel processor Model 3 from 2019. It was relatively straightforward to get it installed, but the features here really outweigh the hurdles it was to get everything installed properly. This thing is sharp. You can adjust the brightness. It changes with the in-screen display, which I think is really slick. Now, of course, you always have that on auto, but you have CarPlay built into this display. It's really convenient, especially if you're used to using CarPlay. Also, blind spot detection. You get a nice red bar on the far left side whenever you have a obstacle in your path that you can't see. That is really great for safety purposes. The front camera is really nice, as well as the speaker. There's actually audio built into this thing, so you can have it broadcast directions from a rideshare app, for example, through CarPlay. Over the audio, you can interact with Siri now within your car. All of these new possibilities with just CarPlay alone. You can access Pandora. Waze is my favorite for navigation, so you know where there are accidents and what may be ahead for speed traps and so on. But the display is crystal clear. The front camera view is really nice. You toggle up for the front camera. You toggle back down for the main menu. If you toggle down again, that's where you get into your CarPlay app. Down always gets back to the main menu, and you cycle from there. Really cool to see this. I'm a big fan, especially with the speaker, the camera, and the CarPlay functionality. I am in drive now, and it automatically went to this front camera, so it operates kind of automatically. It has features to kind of process things. Now watch, as I take off, you're going to see it just automatically, the display changes away from that front camera over to another view. There we go, right around 25 miles an hour, it shifts away from that front camera view, which is pretty nice to know. And then I'm going to do some full self-driving testing with this setup and show you how it works. So now I'm in the main view, and from this view, really it's just a static display. You get a really nice visual representation of your speed. It matches up perfectly, obviously, with your display. It tells you the speed limit of the road, which is kind of nice. That is displayed right there. And then you get some odometer reading. You know what your total miles are, which is kind of nice to see that. And when you're here waiting at an intersection, it flips to this aerial view of your car, which you can change the color in the display. And you in theory can see your tire pressure, although I have not had my tire pressures show up on the display yet after testing it for about a day now. You're going to see here as we take off, the aerial view of the car is going to change. And then I will enable full self-driving. Before I enable full self-driving, I just want to point out one feature in the settings is the blind spot detection. Okay, here we go, and turning it on. There we go, we get a red bar on the right. That is pretty nice. So that visual representation is awfully nice, I would say, to see that very clearly. So I just disabled it, and it went off automatically. I'm going to turn on the left turn signal, and there you see the bar, the red bar on the left side of the screen. So I'm going to cancel that. So what I noticed is that as you're driving, once you enable autopilot or once you enable the full self-driving, the screen essentially locks itself into whatever visualization you have configured. So if I turn it on now, for example, it's going to lock itself in this configuration. If I turn up on the wheel here, it's adjusting my max speed setting. It has nothing to do with the display. If I cancel out of it, what I can do is toggle up, lock in the front camera view, and then turn it on again, and it will maintain that visualization for the duration of the drive. Pretty nice. And you still get the blue wheel on the right side indicating that you are in the self-driving mode. I thought that was pretty neat. So you cancel out of self-driving, and then you can come back down to the main menu. If you go down one more, here is your CarPlay. Same deal. You can go ahead and enable this, and you get CarPlay. You can get Waze. If I go into Waze, for example, it's a touch screen too, so you can move forward, interact with it when you're stopped, obviously, to see what to move around on the screen. You can also, when you're not in self-driving, you can maneuver in and out of these menus. So if I push, so you push left and you go back to the main menu. Here you get all of your icons that you would get inside of your CarPlay. Pretty cool stuff. So just imagine having WhatsApp on here, Telegram, Spot Hero, audiobooks, Google Maps, all sorts of cool apps. Even Duncan has an app on here. Zoom, I guess you could do Zoom on here. I don't know how that works, maybe audio only, but there is a Teams area on here.
If you're interested in picking up a T3 Pro yourself, head on over to Tlyard.com. The link is down in the description. Use my discount code TechGeek for a 27% discount off of any accessory for your Model 3 or Model Y. All right, so I'm going to go into how to install this yourself. Use the orange lever and pull off these side panels over by the dash. Now, I'm really horrible with vocabulary, and I didn't take note of all these parts and the names, so I'm just going to be explaining it as I go, probably mutilate a lot of the part names. But this dash unit with the wood, the fake wood, I believe, it comes right off. You just pull up, use a little bit of force. You might want to use that orange lever to kind of get in there. Then this side thing comes off, and then over here as well, this comes off. There's a screw at the top you're going to have to take off first before you start tearing that away, and you'll see it straight away at the top there. Once you pull that away, down below there are these little plastic units that you can pull off. Use a flathead. This is the light that comes off, and then the speaker cable comes off. You remove those, put that out of the way, and then down here, this is where the computer is. Now, in order to get to the computer, it's best to take off the glove box. I think maybe newer models you don't have to do this, but there's a screw here on the side, and there's 3 or 4 screws at the front. You'll see them all very, very clearly. And then use that wedge, pull off that unit, but also at the same time, I can't remember the sequence, whether you do this first or whether you start using that wedge and pulling that down. I think you have to actually use the wedge to pull it down. You have to then loosen these and take these. There's 2 on the right, 2 on the left, and then there's a little star screw on the right and also a star screw on the left. Once you take that off, it's very, very important. There's a star screw here on the right, and I'm like I said, I'm bad with the names of these things. You can write in the comments what these names actually are, but I'm just going to call it a star screw. You can take that star screw off on the right, and then the one on the left as well. Very important. I missed that, and I'm like, why isn't the glove box coming off? Glove box comes off, and then you have to disconnect the cables at the top. I recommend labeling them just so you know what those cables are, so you're putting the right ones in the back in the same places. You do not need to open up the glove box to take it off, but over here is the cable. You can see the connector. It's kind of in the middle on the right side of your Hardware 3 Intel processor. This is going to be a little bit different if you have a Ryzen processor. You remove that connector. Before you do this, definitely I recommend having the cable ready to go. I have it here already tucked up in here, ready to plug in. You have a limited limited amount of time to put the plug back in. And I'm not sure if that has to do with resetting it. I just saw on another video, and I actually recommend watching another video for how to do this properly. This is just me. I filmed the process, but I didn't really plan. I'm horrible at doing these videos where I explain how to do all this stuff. But you take the connector, plug this in, pretty straightforward. Just make sure you hear the click noise when it goes back in place. So again, I'm not an expert, and you can't take this method and say, okay, this is going to apply for me. Leverage multiple sources. Probably there's some information in the manual. You can see some foil there on a cable there. That's another project. Yours is definitely not going to have that. I had to use a ferrite core. I was having some electrical disturbance. Now, how to install the camera. This is optional. You have to take out the entire frunk And this is not bad. The frunk, removing the frunk is really easy. You just need to take all the necessary screws out. And then there's a little connector for the light in the front. You have to disconnect that as well and take that out. Now, at the very front of the car, you can install the camera. There's two little screws that come with it. I have a license plate holder up there, and I just screwed it directly into the license plate holder. You can find your own method. The sticky tape might not stay in place, so I definitely recommend using a bracket, which comes with the kit, and or those screws. Then that purple connector, you plug in the cable, and then the cable goes all the way across. Now you can bring it in through the middle of the car, through the interior. There's a little rubber gasket. I found a side area and I fished it through here on the left. I did use zip ties to hold it in place all the way throughout, and you basically push the cable through and it goes right behind that area there. And trust me, this does not interfere with the door. At first I was very hesitant to actually do this, but it's totally fine. It doesn't interfere with anything. Once you get it in there, you lay the cables in place. Put some tape on the display so it doesn't fall off. I highly recommend that. You put all the connectors together, just match the colors, and then put the tape all the way there in the front, as far as toward the front as possible, so that you don't interfere with the airflow. And then once you put this back in place, everything's going to clip down. I recommend taking off the front display. A little bit easier to get it down. And then you might lose a clip here, and then you use a magnet and you can pull it straight up again. Definitely use that tip if needed. After using the T3 Pro for a couple weeks now, I will say that it is something that I will probably keep in my car for a while. It is very convenient with CarPlay, as I mentioned, also the speaker, which is really, really great. And you can also make phone calls through it. A phone call comes in, it'll show up on the display, and you can navigate through the menus. The front camera is also very, very convenient. A couple disadvantages, even though the product marketing says that the airflow is not interrupted, although I think they improved the design, you still have the air blocked just a little bit. If you lift up the display, you can feel the air coming on your face a little bit stronger. It's still there when it's fully down and mounted the way it should be, but it's just not as strong coming out on your face. So if you live in a very hot climate and getting cool quickly is really important to you, this might not be the best product for you. However, all in all, it is very, very great with that aside. Now, the other kind of caveat with this is the installation process. It took quite a while to get everything installed. You have to be okay to kind of tear your car apart a little bit and brave enough to kind of take that on. It's not for everybody. If you do hire someone to come in and do that for you, then it's all the more worth it, I believe. Another disadvantage that I observed is that if you use full self-driving and you're using the right scroll wheel and pushing left and right to go through the menus on the T3 Pro, sometimes it will change the assertive mode over to normal and then chill. So that kind of operates or interferes, I should say, with those. I think that's kind of a minor tweak or a fix that they could easily change in the future through a firmware update. The firmware updates over Wi-Fi are great. However, you do need to turn off Wi-Fi in order to use CarPlay or Android Auto. I don't have an Android phone, so I can't demonstrate or test the Android portion, but the CarPlay is very, very convenient, especially for navigation purposes. The vast majority of the time, I keep it on the default display where I can see the speed and I can also see the speed limit. And it's really, really convenient to see how many miles I have on my battery, in addition to the odometer reading there that's straight front and center on the screen. As I mentioned earlier, if you're interested in picking one of these up or any accessory for your Model 3 or Model Y from Tlyard, use my discount code TechGeek for 27% off during the month of June 2024. Thanks a lot for watching. I'll see you guys in the next one.